Now, there's something peculiar that has happened in Pakistan, and I don't know if it's peculiar, but something of a norm that Pakistan continues to see as the years pass by. There has been a shortage of lamination paper in Pakistan, because of which the Pakistan office is unable to provide passports to its citizens. There is questions with regards to why there is lack of funds to even import lamination paper, which it gets from France to print the passports. This was not a one-off incident that has taken place currently. In 2023 as well, Pakistan faced a similar problem. But at that point of time, it was not a matter of importing the lamination paper from foreign countries, but a matter where the passport officers and the department were unable to pay money to the passport makers. So, a situation such as this that continues to arise in Pakistan is shocking for the rest of the world, but not so much so for Pakistan. When you have no food, no electricity, fuel prices going high, prices of food going high, inflation, there are funds that you have to beg from the World Health Organization, from the World Bank, from the IMF, even from Saudi Arabia and then China. This is the deplorable situation that Pakistan has fallen further deep into. Major General Sudhakar ji on the telecast with me. Quickly a response from you. Does it really come as a shock? Because, I mean, it does. It is hilarious. When I took a look at this news has been put out as a report on a Pakistani newspaper, news agency by the name of Express Tribune. And it has gone about getting responses from a number of students, tourists, business persons, professionals from Pakistan who had been eyeing traveling abroad for jobs, for education, for business purposes, for travel, but now they cannot do so because they don't have passports. Now, a situation such as this could only have arisen in Pakistan. Even the worst of countries, the most underdeveloped countries, whether in Africa or other parts of the world, I have never seen or heard such a situation so deplorable, so problematic that Pakistan is facing.
Absolutely, you made a very relevant and strong point. I'm just back from Scandinavian countries 3 days back, and it's not very surprising to learn that wherever we met any Pakistanis, they declined to identify themselves as Pakistanis. They used to introduce themselves as Indians. And also there are quite a few South Asian countries who refuse to decline their true identity because of many issues. So this is one of the issues which you are highlighting, and it's not shocking as far as I'm concerned. It has happened in the past, it has happened now, it is going to happen in future. Round the corner, December 31st, the bottom line requirement is $26 billion. This is for debt servicing, minimum bottom line requirement. And if you actually take the cumulative external and internal debts and the liability, we have economic experts, they will be able to enlighten us. Pakistan is in absolutely deplorable situation, and it is collapsing anytime is just an understatement. It is showing all signs of weaknesses and breakpoint. I'm afraid that if they really do not take a serious view, introspect genuinely, take stock of the internal order, I'm afraid the things would certainly go out of hand. It will be unmanageable from all accounts. Yeah. Today, Pakistan as it stands is barely, I would say, is surviving on the loan amount given by China, to an extent by...
and sir, the Chinese are giving that loan amount and they are getting their pound of flesh. Obviously, those loan amounts are for the investments that are taking place under the Belt and Road Initiative, CPEC, and then terrorist activities that are being perpetuated by the Pakistanis along the line of actual control by the army. So, for China gives Pakistan the funds on the conditionality that they are used for these infrastructure projects which are China infused, or if it's going into terrorism or into the army to attack India.
Is that question to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Goes without saying, when you talk about the loan being loaned out by China, there is a thing called a grant, the other one is loan. When you put them in a comparative matrix, you find the loan, the rate of interest of China loans provided to any country, and especially Pakistan, is more than 2.5%, which is very, very high rate of interest. Whereas a grant is of a low from 0 to anything less than 2%. And given that particular percentage of the rate of interest, I think China is actually, making Pakistan a captive state, is a vassal state in any case. It is only a axiomatic statement to make now at this moment. And more so, whenever this money is being given to Pakistan, unfortunately, you have hit the nail on its head. Unfortunately, this money is being laundered towards the hands which are not supposed to be using it. The terrorism is the epicenter which is consuming. ISI is playing a very big role. The narcotics money is also pumping in into the terrorism. We need to actually hammer it down nice and properly. Back to you, Megha.
Sharad Kohli, senior economist, also on the telecast with me. Sharad, what is the cost of buying lamination paper? In fact, why is it that Pakistan cannot manufacture its lamination paper and has to import it from France?
Megha, in management, we use a term called forward and backward integration. I'm sure we all have read about it. Backward integration is when you try and absorb within yourself, the raw material which you're using, try and manufacture it yourself, and forward integration works the other way. This is a backward integration of another kind. We heard about Pakistan International Airlines grounding most of its planes because it had no money to pay for the fuel it was buying from the Pakistani state-owned oil companies. So there's a lot of Pakistani airplanes which are grounded now. Now here comes when your passport cannot be processed because there's no lamination paper. Next could be there are no cabs which can take you to the airport. So this is a classic case of a backward integration of another kind, a new theory of backward integration coming on with regard to an economic downfall. I mean, it has no foreign exchange. The answer to the question, Megha, is there is no forex to pay to the French company for the lamination paper. And they have got no foreign exchange to pay for so many things. They don't have money to pay for food. They don't have money to pay for groceries. They don't have money to pay for electricity. They don't have money to pay for fuel. They don't have money to pay for medicines. The hospitals, the salaries of the civil aviation staff has not been paid. The salary of the doctors has not been paid. So I think it's an absolute catastrophe. If you ask me, I call it as an economic catastrophe, Megha. They are sinking deeper and deeper into crisis. $125 billion is the total external debt, Megha, as per my record, as on June. Obviously, from June to now, we are into November. So it has piled up some more. God knows what is going to happen. It's got some fair weather friends, although I don't call them fair weather now. It's got Saudi Arabia, China, Turkey, and a few other here and there who keep coming to the rescue. China, of course, comes for the vested interest. China wants to buy out Pakistan, just like Hambantota Tota in Sri Lanka. The aim of China is to buy it out completely, which I think Pakistan will realize sooner or later. It has already realized, which is why things like the Belt and Road Initiative are not going to work for the countries which they are intended to.
Yeah.
I think it's economic catastrophe which is waiting to happen. Thanks to these friends that Pakistan, we are still talking about, Megha. Otherwise, Pakistan as a country, we would not have been discussing today. Forget about the lamination paper of the passport. Poor people who were supposed to travel abroad. Everybody wants to get out of Pakistan.
Yeah, they all want to. The people who can afford to get out of Pakistan, they're fleeing. The largest percentage of the middle class, of the upper middle class, of the upper echelons of the society in Pakistan they leave. Maximum number of people, students study abroad in United States of America and UK, but unfortunately they are stranded right now in Pakistan. That's the ugly truth.
And the best way to stop them is stop laminating their passports. Don't issue the passports to them. I don't know. I mean, I can smell something intentional here also. When you want to stop people from flying out, just don't issue them the passport, because all the brain drain is happening. The cream of Pakistan, Megha, is flying out. So what will Pakistan be left with? A handful of farmers, some laborers, and the blue-collared workers. What is Pakistan going to do?
Pakistan is left with terrorists, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. That's what it is left with.
It's their home.
Yeah.
It's their home, Megha.
Yeah.
For them, it's their home. So I think I think Pakistan, in an attempt to prevent the brain drain, there could also be a conspiracy behind holding back these lamination papers.
Okay, all right. It would be one thing because the political exiles that happened, that reoccur of the politicians. There is the recent former Prime Minister who's just come back. There's likelihood of him becoming the Prime Minister. Maybe Imran Khan is wanting to travel to Pakistan. But obviously, I mean, I don't know if all that makes sense, comes together. Unfortunate thing, pitiable condition that Pakistan and its people at this point of time are in. Let's get a response from Raja Munib. He's a senior journalist. Raja ji, a situation as bad as this, and the question I ask is, Pakistan has money to fund terrorism, to infiltrate terrorists into Kashmir, to pay its army, to violate the ceasefire along the line of control, but it will refuse to feed its poor.
Thank you, Megha. Absolutely. See, the problem with Pakistan is that it lives from dole to dole, or what we call is from aid to aid from one country or another country, whether it is IMF, whether it is their all weather friends. That is essentially how Pakistan as a nation is surviving. Now, if you look at the recent business foray of the Pakistani army, they actually want to keep themselves food surplus, and they have taken over large swaths of agricultural land so they can grow their own food. So clearly it's a case where, the Pakistani army doesn't care about its civilians, doesn't care about the common people, while the common people are struggling to get a bag of atta, which is nearly 300 rupees a kg in Pakistan. The Pakistani army and their families and all these bureaucrats in Pakistan, what they call is the elite class of Pakistan, seems unfazed, and they don't seem to have a problem with these things. The nature of Pakistani state is such that, unfortunately, the way the radicalization has taken place in Pakistan, and, most of their middle class, lower class elements are highly radicalized. Pakistan feeds them radicalization more than they can feed them basic necessities of life. And that is the tragedy of Pakistan. So Pakistan is going down the drain, going down its own cultivation of radical minds and perpetration of terrorism, because that's what they have essentially invested in. They never invested in any other industry rather than the industry of terrorism. And once you invest into terrorism, then you have only other bodies and other dead bodies to feed on, and no grains to feed on. So that is essentially what Pakistan is. And Pakistan, the problem with Pakistanis is, do the passports even matter for them right now? Because if you look at their, Dr. Sharad was right, their outgoing loans is about $100 billion, more than $100 billion. This year alone, they have to pay $35 billion. Their reserves are at $8.7 billion as of now. So, if you look at the Pakistani industries, they have destroyed it. They had a textile industry, which was pretty big. But their textile industry has 45% of their industry has shut down, owing to the lack of imports or the import restrictions they had on material and on machinery. So the problem is, apart from terror machinery, which Pakistan, keeps on perpetrating on the narcotics drug from Afghanistan, there is no other, industry in Pakistan which we can say is profitable or can, keep the economic ship of the country afloat. Yeah. So Pakistan is sinking under its own weight of, terror factory or terror economy, we can call it.
Yeah, absolutely. Adit, quickly a response from you. It started off, I remember, back in the day, decades and decades ago, where Pakistan has continued to have shortage of funds and fuels and food, inflation, recession. And I remember Imran Khan government back in the day had auctioned its luxury cars. Then there was this instance of Pakistan exporting donkeys to China. Then came the point when IMF was giving loans to Pakistan successively under the conditions that it is going to then allow for terrorist activities, money laundering, terror financing to be kept in check. But the situation is such that Pakistan has accepted practically that it is a terrorist state. The fact that there is funding that comes from China to build these terrorist havens in Pakistan is a known fact. The question arises is, why has the United Nations, other international organizations, other countries refused to recognize, acknowledge and term Pakistan as such?
The answer is very straightforward on this one, because the international community, the international institutions like United Nations, IMF, etc., all want to use Pakistan to their disposal, and they potentially also want to use it vis-a-vis India wherever they deem fit. So, which is why the agenda or the narrative at this point is to basically drip feed Pakistan and keep it in the state of a permanent limbo, where it's not dead but not even fully kicking and alive. Dr. Kohli made a very, very pertinent point that this could be a deliberate attempt by the Pakistan passport office to essentially reduce the issuance of passports. Because if you look at it, typically in a month where the Peshawar office was essentially producing about 3,000 to 4,000 passport issuances, they've now reduced to about 13 a day. So the numbers are absolutely staggering, and it all points down to the fact that the Pakistani Bureau of Statistics reported that from January 2023 to June 2023, there were more than 8.5 lakh Pakistanis who had left Pakistan, who had emigrated Pakistan to other countries like Saudi Arabia, to the Middle East, in Romania, Greece, Western Europe, and America. Of them, 4 lakh were all educated and qualified professionals. So, the brain drain in Pakistan is absolutely staggering. And that's all because of the compounded issues of, the inflation, which is roughly about 40% food scarcity, job scarcity, industries not flourishing. So that all has compounded to the lives of daily people being completely being belittled.
But Adit, does this Pakistan government really is bothered about brain drain? Because it has been happening for decades together. There is no industry, there are no manufacturing plants, there are no units that again allow for people in Pakistan, professionals in Pakistan to then thrive, to build their own life, to build the lives of their families. So, like I said, anything that is manufactured in Pakistan is terrorism, is arms, it's narcotics. And I don't know what is the linkage. I don't know if it's deliberate. It's questionable, but I have my skepticism on this.
If you look at Pakistan is a very unique state where there is a front of a democratic setup, but actually everything is being controlled by the so-called military establishment. So think of British India way back between 1857 and 1947, where you had an East India Company controlling. Prior to 1857, where you had an East India Company controlling an entire nation. In today's day and age, in Pakistan, it is a similar situation where the Fauji Foundation acts like the East India Company, controlling the entire military, controlling the politics, and the polity is essentially a front. So the polity essentially has no say in the grand scheme of things. It's the Fauji Foundation and the military establishment which is looking to run the country, and which even Raja mentioned that they are trying to secure agricultural land for themselves to ensure that their interests are secure. So where a Fauji Foundation is producing everything from cement, from baby diapers to they're controlling food stock in Pakistan. So it is their interest which is paramount. So the fault essentially lies with the collective society of Pakistan, which is not taking their military establishment to accountability. Megha.
What also perplexes me is Major General Sudhakar ji, if you could, find a solution to it, some analysis as to why is it that the people of Pakistan are not coming onto the streets protesting in rebellion to the sorry state of affairs that they have to face. And that's a majority of the Pakistanis are facing that. The other smaller minority who have the money and the resources are flying out of Pakistan. The generals are the one who are concentrating all the wealth. What about the Awam? Who has stopped them or forced them to stay inside their homes and not come out on the streets yet?
Very relevant question, Megha. 3 days back, I was reading a Western newspaper in which it was mentioned that Pakistan is another Gaza. In fact, we have forgotten to acronym Pakistan as such. You see, if I have to respond to your question in an objective manner, I would say history and the geography of Pakistan plays a vital component of the response. And historically, the genesis of Pakistan is based on genetic disorder, if I may say, based on religion and language. That is no way. This is the only nation state in the world which is based on religion. And second most important is the strategic importance. The people of Pakistan have been subjected to so much of disillusionment that the very institution of army on which they had reposed faith is also, falling apart. There are very distinctions, there are divisions within the army itself. And the last buck appears to be not meeting the aspiration, the bottom line aspirations of the people. There have been one after another military coup. And if a solution is to be sought, I would say, Megha, a comprehensive solution would be in order, in which a short-term, mid-term and long-term division of objectives should be identified. In terms of first start point should be the Constitution of Pakistan. The Constitution of Pakistan was based and developed on faulty lines after 1971 operation. It was promulgated sometime in 1973. The very concept of this constitution is not like what we have in India, like of the people, for the people, by the people is defining the democracy, but it is defining the secular India. It's a republic. Whereas in case of Pakistan constitution, it is based on the Islam, based on the religion, and their concept of the constitution is to rid cover the entire face of the planet with the writ of Allah. That is no way of formulating a kind of a democratic Islamic republic, number one.
Okay.
Number two is that the constitution must lead to some kind of a political, the genuine emergence of the political component which is sustainable. Unfortunately, the political component has been subverted more than adequately by the deep state, that is the Pakistan army. Therefore, it cannot sustain itself. And third and most important is, for a revolution to come about, people have to have some kind of a support on three accounts. One is the roti kapda makan. Second, they need to dream for a future. Third and most important is the economy. When I talk about the economy, Pakistan's industry must reemerge.
But these are the three key factors that people should be fighting in Pakistan, and obviously they are lamenting the fact that this is the deplorable, poor, collapsing situation of Pakistan that they are bearing the brunt of. Again, the question arises, isn't the situation as bad as it could be, that it is revolting for the common man in Pakistan who is still not coming out on the streets? Or I don't know what is the reason. Is there a forceful application of the military establishment that is causing the people to stay in their homes? But another question, taking a look at the economic front, and Sharad, the situation such as this, that it is economic relief, the loans, the monetary funds that keep coming in to Pakistan from the IMF and the World Bank and other international organizations is a bit appalling and surprising as well. I understand the OIC nations or China going and helping, Saudi Arabia and Turkey giving in doles, China giving in money because it has its own vested interests. But why are international organizations still maintaining these ties with Pakistan, sending in funds?
Well, Megha, these international organizations like World Bank, IMF, we should not forget that they are organizations by name, but factually, there is a lot of lobbying which goes on. We know how much influence the United States has on World Bank, on IMF. We know how much influence China has so many times in some of the UN organizations and so on. So at the end of the day, these organizations are not standalone. I mean, they don't have any identity of their own. I mean, on papers they may, but they constitute of the nations getting together. The money which comes into World Bank or IMF is ultimately being contributed by some of the developed countries at the top of the list. So we've seen after the Russia-Ukraine crisis, Megha, and after the recent Gaza conflict, that the world is gradually and slowly and steadily getting divided into two parts. So I think somewhere down the line, when we divide the world into two parts, when we have the NATO, and some of the other nations on one side, although there is a third side, there is a neutral side also to which India belongs, and then we've got China, Russia, North Korea, Iran. We've got the second front which is there. So I think Pakistan, I would say, in some way or the other, this is my own analysis, although this is geopolitics. I mostly speak on economics, but I found this, and some of the geopolitical experts would confirm this, that somehow Pakistan has got friends on both the fronts. It's got friends in NATO, it's got friends in the other front also. So I think, plus the second thing is the strategic location of Pakistan, which until now, it was a benefactor of America because, America was funding for strategic reasons. And now, of course, China has taken that place. So because of its location, because of the geopolitical situation, because of the equation, and because of the terrorist front that Pakistan has built, I think all these factors combined have come to the rescue of Pakistan time and again. But having said that, I would insist on, and I would be very forceful in saying that this is not a long-term, this is not a sustainable solution. Yeah. This is not a long-term solution. You cannot survive with a begging bowl at all times. I mean, you cannot survive. So I think it is a matter of time, Megha, before this flow stops. And the moment this flow stops, I've spoken a dozen times on your channel that it is a country which is about to disintegrate. Every time that time comes, every time that moment comes, some or the other, $1 billion, a couple of $1 billion, $500 million, they pour in. And then again, it hangs by the thread. So I think it's a matter of time before this flow will stop. And the moment it stops, Megha, the revolt which you're talking about, Megha, you're going to see that on the street. Why the revolt is not happening now? You're right. It is the fear of military because Pakistan is not being governed by a government. There is no democracy in Pakistan for that matter. Okay. And the fear of military is there. So the revolt is a matter of time. Disintegration also, Megha, is a matter of time.
Okay, good. Rajamuni, very little time, quickly 30 seconds, if you could encapsulate. When Pakistan in such doldrums, isn't it a cause of concern for India as well? Its security is going to be in peril. We share the border on the Western Front.
Absolutely. Look, it is a concern for us because, you don't know when Pakistan implodes. Though it doesn't look as a very seeming possibility in near future, but eventually that will happen one day because of the nature of the state of Pakistan. And at that time, I hope that, we have wargamed this enough and we have, we have looked at the policies and how we are going to control that kind of an, that kind of a influx from Pakistan if that happens in Pakistan. But saying that, when you talk about protests in Pakistan, remember that when Imran Khan was taken to jail, the culmination on the streets was not only for him, but was for the anger of inflation, which was in Pakistan, and a lot of people came out. And I'll give you a very, interesting thing. A Pakistani TV did a survey where they went from in different cities, from students to business holders to, essentially people working in offices, and asked them what is the reason for inflation. And overwhelmingly majority of Pakistanis in that interview said that, they're not Islamic enough. And unless and until they don't have the Sharia law, Pakistan will have these problems and they will be beggar nations. So if that is the mindset of the people on the ground, that they're suffering because they're not Islamic enough yet, that tells you why they are not coming out on the streets and protesting against the government, and they have not opened their eyes, but they're still believing in some utopian,
interesting.
Kind of.
Okay, all right. Quickly then, Adit, what are the key takeaways for India particularly? How should we be assessing the situation?
I think India has, taken a tectonic shift when it comes to their foreign policy vis-a-vis Pakistan. It's absolutely no engagement with Pakistan and on whatever platform it may be. So no Aman ki Asha, no no foreign external affairs minister level talks, etc. And that is possibly the best way that you can actually deal with Pakistan, because terror and talks cannot go hand in hand. And unless Pakistan dismantles...
is there going to be any mechanism as a humanitarian aid for the people of Pakistan? Because the people of Pakistan do not reflect the military rule, the dictatorial regime that Pakistan has been living in since the time it was created.
I actually disagree on that one. I think the collective society of Pakistan is represented by the military establishment in Pakistan and its political establishment in Pakistan. So unfortunately, they are the ones who are advocating for Pakistan's foreign policy, and it's advocating for its terrorism. Even like how Raja just mentioned that, ground up people are essentially willing to sacrifice their lives in the hope of creating some sort of a Medina in Pakistan. So, until and unless they realize that, the modern day Medina cannot be, what it existed in 600 AD odd, and we have to look at future. We have to look at, we have to move away from religiosity. Until that doesn't shine within the hearts and minds of Pakistanis, common Pakistanis, I don't think things will change at a ground level.
Okay. All right. I thank all of you. I'm short of time.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.